Update: WRITETHRU Disney Pixar's Coco has struck a chord in China. The movie from directors Leon Crick and Adrian Molina has quickly become the top-grossing Pixar title ever in the market, as Guitar Hero Miguel and his trusty dog Dante have strummed up $75.6 million after 10 days there. The sophomore Middle Kingdom session came in 148% above last weekend's opening, pointing to the fantastic word of mouth as the film's themes continue to resonate. The full international box office weekend on Coco was $69 million in 33 markets for an offshore cum of $171.3 million and a global tally of $280 million. There are still such majors to come as Australia, Italy, Brazil, Korea, the UK and Japan. Coco led overall overseas play for the weekend, followed by Justice League $35.7 million, Murder on the Orient Express $23.1 million, Daddy's Home 2 $15.6 million and animated Japanese title Fireworks, Should We See It From the Side of the Bottom, which sparked to $10.7 million in China, landing at No. 2 there behind Coco. Pixar has traditionally been soft in the Middle Kingdom, but local odds are extra sweet on Coco. The movie had the second-best sophomore weekend ever for an animated film in the market, behind only Zootopia, and the title multiplied like rabbits with an ultimate $235 million there last year. This past week, Coco saw increases throughout, with a #1 weekend that far outdistanced the market's other players, including Justice League, which is moving close to $100 million at Chinese turnstiles. Marvel Coco, which saw another #1 performance domestically this session, earlier this week helped Disney across the $5 billion global box office mark for 2017. So did Thor Ragnarok, which has now nailed $816.4 million worldwide. The hammer wielder grabbed another $6.5 million this frame to lift the international cum to $525 million, passing X-Men: Days of Future Past's $514 million. Warner Brothers. In other superhero news, Warner Bros. DC's Justice League dropped 50% from last weekend to lasso $35.7 million in the third outing for an overseas cum of $370.1 million. The global total to date is $567.4 million. In highlights for the group, the China cum of $98.5 million RMB 653.8 M has now surpassed the lifetime totals of both Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice to become the highest-grossing DC film ever in the proc. Elsewhere, Fox's Mystery Train, Murder on the Orient Express, has crossed $150 million internationally, with strong openings in Italy, Korea, Indonesia and Brazil. And STX's A Bad Mom's Christmas decked the halls by passing $100 million global, as did Lionsgate participants Wonder. As we wait for Star Wars: The Last Jedi to storm the world beginning December 13th, next weekend we'll see expansions and holdovers while China gets a roster of new picks including Paddington 2, Only the Brave, Loving Vincent and 47 Meters Down. In the meantime, breakdowns on the titles above and others have been updated below. NEWDARKEST Our focus features Gary Oldman's star turn in working titles. Darkest Hour has been heating awards talk since the film debuted during the fall festival circuit. Universal is just beginning offshore release of the drama from Joe Wright, with China kicking things off. The weekend estimate is $1.8 million in the Middle Kingdom for fifth place in a frame that was dominated by overwhelming support of animated family pick, Coco. Oldman plays newly appointed British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in the early days of World War II. With the fall of France imminent, Britain faces its darkest hour as the threat of invasion looms, and Churchill must maneuver his political rivals while confronting the ultimate choice: negotiate with Hitler and save the British people at a terrible cost, or rally the nation and fight on against incredible odds. International dates roll out through February. The UK and European majors should see solid play on the prestige title. Premieres are being held in London and Paris the week of December 11th. Upcoming dates include France on January 3rd, Brazil on January 4th, Australia and Germany on January 11th, and Spain and the UK Ireland on January 12th. HOLDOVERSEXPANSIONSCOCO Disney leading the international box office this session. Disney Pixar's Day of the Dead-themed family pick continues to charm offshore audiences, and with many majors still to come. The movie had already become the No. one film ever in Mexico, and this weekend set a Pixar record in China where it is the animation label's biggest grosser to date. With $75.6 million in the Middle Kingdom, Coco is flying in the face of Pixar's traditional underperformance in the market. Themes of love, leaving and the world of the dead are really striking a chord locally. In total, Lee Unkrich and Adrian Molina's Coco plucked up another $69 million in 33 material markets this weekend, lifting the international cume to $171.3 million and the worldwide songbook to $280 million. This weekend saw Coco open in France, Germany and Spain. In the former, the colorful pick stirred up $5.2 million, $6.4 million including previews, landing it at No. 1 and more than doubling the openings of both Wreck-It Ralph and Big Hero 6. Spain was also a #1 start with $2.8 million, ahead of the debuts of Moana and Big Hero 6. Germany too grabbed No. 1 with $2 million to top Moana and Wreck-It Ralph. Elsewhere in Europe, Coco had an especially impressive opening in Belgium, posting $900,000, ahead of all three comps above and with a Saturday that topped Frozen. In holds, the China performance truly is impressive. After a $17.8 million start and lots of social sentiment last frame, this week saw each weekday increase before the sophomore session's $44.2 million. That's 148% above the opening frame and ranks as the second highest second weekend ever for an animated release in China behind only Zootopia. Recall that Zootopia was a massive hit last year with $235 million in Middle Kingdom coin. Coco is already the highest grossing Pixar release ever in China and third highest Pixar Disney release after only Zootopia and Big Hero 6. Fun fact: the second weekend, $44.2 million China gross, if ranked against animated opening weekends, would stand at No. 3 all-time, behind only opening frames of Despicable Me 3 and Kung Fu Panda 3. Elsewhere, Coco held terrifically with increases in a further 5 markets: Indonesia 49%, Malaysia 30%, Portugal 18%, Taiwan 15% and Vietnam 9%. The top 5 plays so far are China, Mexico $55.6 million, France $6.4 million, Russia $5.8 million and Spain $2.8 million. Justice League Warner Bros. With a 50% drop in its third weekend, Warner Bros. DC's Justice League added $35.7 million on 20,375 screens in 66 markets. That billows Superman's cape to $370.1 million overseas and $567.4 million worldwide. There's a new milestone for the League of Superheroes in China where a running cume of RMB 653.8 M $98.5 million cuffs the best DC score ever, surpassing the total cumes of Wonder Woman and BVS. Brazil remains the #2 offshore market for the Batman and crew. The film is still No. 1 there and saw a small 24% dip to bring the total so far to $31.2 million. Mexico is next best with $21.7 million to date after ranking #2 this weekend. In the UK, The Crew has racked up $20.2 million, and Korea is now at $12.9 million. Murder on the Orient Express. 20th Century Fox rolling into a handful of new stations this session. Fox's Kenneth Branagh-helmed mystery unearthed $23.1 million in a total 68. That lifts the overseas cume to $152.7 million. Italy saw a great start at $3.9 million, 12% bigger than comp The Great Gatsby and Good for No. 1. Korea, where 2 local movies are leading, gave MOTOE $3.4 million, on par with Gone Girl and including previews. Also new this weekend was Indonesia at $1.9 million for No. 1, and Brazil bowed at No. 2 with $1.43 million. In holds, Germany was down 30% for a $9.58 million total so far. The UK dipped 39% with a cume of $28.8 million and Australia fell off by just 20% to cume $9.9 million so far. Overall, Orient Express is the top film in 7 markets and is outpacing The Great Gatsby by 39% and Gone Girl by 68% in the same bucket of markets and at current exchange rates. Next weekend, the film opens in Belgium, Japan and Taiwan. Daddy's Home 2 Paramount's holiday comedy grossed $15.6 million this weekend in 49 markets, including 25 new openings. The international cume is now $34 million. Playing to the family crowd, the drop was 32% from last session. Mexico got off to no. 1 with $4.8 million at 764 cinemas, becoming the second biggest all-time opening weekend for a Hollywood comedy behind Pixels. The result is 108% above Daddy's Home. The UAE was also a number one debut with $650,000 at 45 cinemas for 26% over the original Will Ferrell-Mark Wahlberg starrer. Argentina roosted at no. 2 in the debut with $408,000 at 179 locations. The result is 40% above Daddy's Home, which opened during school holidays. Colombia started at no. 3 with $357,000 at 182 sites. The Bow is 26% below Daddy's Home, which likewise opened during school holidays. Israel stepped in at number 2 with $275,000 at 27 sites, 17% above Daddy's Home. Ecuador scored the best opening ever for a comedy with $170,000 at 40 cinemas. In holds, the UK added $2.7 million in Frame 2 on the pick that features Mel Gibson and John Lithgow. The total is currently $10.6 million. Other cumes include Australia at $5.3 million, Russia with $2.5 million, and Brazil's $1.6 million. The next major to go is Germany on December 7th. Wonder Lionsgate participant Media Sleeper broke the $100 million worldwide mark this weekend, thanks to a further $7.8 million from 46 markets. The worldwide and international totals stand at $100.2 million and $12.2 million respectively through Sunday. Australia started off at number 1 with $2.3 million from 290 locations. The Julia Roberts starrer also bowed in the UK, with $1.5 million from 526 screens, and Spain debuted to $753,000 from 241. Brazil is the next major to launch December 7th, with the rest of international rolling out through the holiday season into early next year. Thor Ragnarok. Disney The Son of Odin crossed $800 million global as expected this week, lifting to $816.4 million. Internationally, Taika Waititi's take on the Marvel property added $6.5 million in 52 markets for an offshore total of $525 million to date, passing X-Men: Days of Future Past $514 million. Holds are good in such plays as the UK 9%, Israel 9%, Australia 13%, Sweden 28%, Mexico 29%, Argentina 30%, the Netherlands 31%, Japan 43%, and Germany 45%. In the UK, Thor 3 hammered past the £30 million mark and will soon surpass the lifetime total of Spider-Man: Homecoming. China remains the top market at $112.1 million, followed by the UK, Korea $34.9 million, Brazil $29.9 million, and Australia $25.2 million. A Bad Moms Christmas STX Films. The STX sequel opened in 7 more international markets this weekend and added $3.8 million from 2,807 locations. The offshore cume is $40 million, which helps push the comedy across the $100 million mark worldwide. The global cume to date is $104.8 million. In the Netherlands and Belgium this weekend, frosty weather kept some folks home as the weekend approached, but on Saturday both markets saw the sequel outperform the original. The former opened Bad Moms Christmas at number 2 with $550,000 from 108 sites. That's 22% ahead of the previous film and outranks comps like Horrible Bosses 2, Neighbours 2 and Office Christmas Party. In Belgium, the Mila Kunis starrer opened at number 3 with $240,000 from 65 locations, 14% behind Bad Moms, but ahead of the other comps. France came in lower than comps with $425,000 at 200 locations, 47% behind Bad Moms. The UK leads holds with a tiny 14% drop for a $9.7 million cume. Germany, Austria and Switzerland are at $9.6 million to date, followed by Australians with $8.1 million after 5 frames. Still to come are Italy, Russia, Spain and Latin America this weekend. Jigsaw Lionsgate's 8K carved out another $2.3 million in 71 markets this weekend, $4 or $60.1 million running offshore Cume. Brazil launched to $908,000 on 480 screens, surpassing Saw 4 68%, Saw 5 64%, and Saw 6 126%, based on local currency. The UK remains the lead market at $6.7 million after weekend 6. Venezuela $5.7 million, Russia $5.1 million, Germany $5.1 million and France $4 million follow. Happy Death Day Universal. The Universal Boomhouse micro-budget horror pick is looking at $2.2 million in 59 markets this session for an international total of $53.1 million. Argentina got off to a strong start in the search for the co-ed killer with $370,000 at No. 3. France, where the movie's titled Happy Birthday was the top hold at $512,000 for a total $3.6 million. The global tally lifts to $108.7 million. Russia releases this week. NB. We are waiting on a full breakdown for Paddington 2, which will come with the actuals. In the meantime, Comscore puts the weekend at $6.15 million in 15 markets for a total $47 million to date. Misc updated CUMESNOTABLESSTX Entertainment. The Snowman Uni $1.5 million international weekend, 20 markets $34.9 million international QMED Foreigner STX $1.2 million international weekend, 3 new markets $103.5 million international QMED Mountain Between Us Fox $939,000 international weekend, 19 markets $27 million international QMED Girls Trip Uni $700,000 international weekend, 3 markets $23 million international QME Maribone Uni $270,000 international weekend, Spain only $7.8 million Spanish QME New local titles Universal Perfectos Desconocidos, a Spanish comedy that Universal is distributing in Spain, opened Friday and placed No. 2 for the weekend with $2.1 million. Critics and audiences are responding well to the Alex de la Iglesia-helmed pick that stars Belen Rueda. It's a remake of Paolo Genovese's Italian hit Perfetti Sconosciuti Perfect Strangers, which released last year and scored the Best Film and Screenplay prizes at the David Di Donatello Awards. The story unfolds at a dinner party during which it's proposed that everyone leave their cell phone in the center of the table, with text messages, calls and social prompts visible to all and revealing secrets that are perhaps better kept hidden. Warner Bros. Japan released Full Metal Alchemist this weekend, with the film grabbing #1 at $3.6 million on 411 screens. The results are on par with WB's local hit Rurouni Kenshin. Directed by Fumihiko Sori and based on the manga series, it's an action story about alchemist brothers Edward and Ulfo Elric in search of the legendary Philosopher's Stone. New in Korea, mystery thriller Forgotten About via Megabox with $3.42 million at No. 2 behind Holdover the Swindlers. From writer-director Jang Han-jun, the film stars Kang Han-yul and Kim Moo-yeol as brothers Jin Seok and Yoo Seok. When Yoo Seok is kidnapped on their first day at a new house, Jin Seok suffers from hallucinations until Yoo Seok returns home on the 19th day with a memory loss and exhibiting strange behavior. Finding himself in a hidden murder case inside Yoo Seok's twisted memory, Jin Seok faces a heartbreaking truth. Netflix recently acquired the pick for global rollout in 2018.